Hi, welcome to Swishing Mindsets. This is Anuradha, and today I'm talking to Ritu Dalmia, a celebrated, well-known chef and co-founder of Diva restaurants. Hi,
Thank you,
Ritu.
Anurag. Nice to be here. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, all mine. And to just start off immediately, I I've been reading up a lot of your interviews, and there's so much you said already. So some of it might be repeat, but I really want to talk about how you got into food because you come from a family of marble business or something.
That's
And
right. Everyone asks me this question.
yeah.
Every time I say the same thing, I wish I knew. I don't know how I got into it. It was one momentary decision when I was 20-year-old, just how shall I say, impulsive decision that I like to cook. Let me open a restaurant. And that was it. That was just in spite of having many failures, many successes. I just realized this is what I wanted to do in my life. I mean, cooking was always for fun, it was always for pleasure. Never thought I will take it as a career opportunity or a career choice, but it just happened. I guess I was destined for it, and there was no way fighting it.
Yeah, because I read that, your mom didn't cook, right? I mean,
That's true. That's true. It's
yeah,
my
yeah.
joke. It's my joke amongst us. I mean, my mom can't cook, but that's not the reason I became a chef. That's the reason I started cooking at home, but I also enjoyed it. It was just something to tease her about that, because you can't cook, I have to fend for myself. But the reality is, cooking for me was always something which was my private time. It was something I enjoyed. I was never a party goer. I was never the sort of person who was, out partying like people my age. For me, whenever I had any free time, I just wanted to cook and I just wanted to go through cookbooks. They were my little pornography when I was growing up.
Yeah, I can understand, because so much of it, even when you grow up, and I think we are similar age, and a lot of it relates to your childhood because whatever you did in childhood, you tend to do even in adulthood. You tend to enjoy the same things. So yeah,
Yes,
hmm,
absolutely. I
yeah,
enjoy what I do, even though it's become a full-fledged work, but still it's a pleasure and still feel guilty to say I'm going for work.
I think that's the most wonderful part, really. So your first venture you started in Hoskas
Yes.
Village, right? And that failed, right? Because it was a fine
That
dining
failed
restaurant.
as it was good before its time, but I sold it. I realized I couldn't cope up with it. It was an Italian restaurant, European restaurant. Ingredients were more or less impossible to get. We didn't have an alcohol license. The mindset was still about five-star hotels. So it was a very different time that time. So I realized I couldn't run it. So I sold it and ran away to London and said, okay, this city doesn't deserve me, doesn't appreciate me. If I go to London, maybe they will appreciate me more. As I said, young mind, stupid, impulsive. So that's how it starts. And I have no regrets, even though it did not succeed. I have no regrets. I have some of the best friends I made in my restaurant who are still very dear friend. Same guests now come to Diva and come to all other restaurants. So I seed was sown. It did not fledge, but at least it taught me how to farm. Let's put it this way.
Yeah, I know. That's why I called it a failure. I mean, it's a harsh word, but because so much comes out of it, and when you're
Yeah,
young,
it was.
yeah,
It was.
yeah, and like a lot of people, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, I think they face that initially, and I think it's a stepping stone,
Absolutely.
as they
Not
say.
only,
Yeah.
not, I think it's not only when they start. I think as you go along in your life, no one, if someone's really lucky, that's when they have a full run without any failures. I mean, up and down is a way of life. And in a way, I always say my mantra is my constraints are my strength. And to be honest, there's also a sense of gratitude because I don't think I have ever taken what we have achieved for granted. I'm very grateful for it. I'm very grateful for the present, but I don't know what tomorrow will bring. So I've really, that's one thing that I have to tell myself again and again and keep myself in check, that there is no space for arrogance. There is no space for saying, I know it all and I've reached my peak. Because again, time is a strange thing. When a success can become a failure, you don't know. So I'm very grateful for every day that I get to be successful at what I do.
So what does success really mean to you in that case?
So for me, success really means when I can go home, sleep with a smile on my face, saying today was a good day. Success for me means today when I see some of the people who have worked in Diva have gone, opened their own places, and are doing very well and are successful. I feel like a proud mummy. Success is when a new idea germinates in my head, which I get super excited about, and suddenly it takes shape and it turns into reality. That's success. For me, my needs are very little in life. Um, I don't have hundreds of kids to leave anything behind for. I don't get clothes in my size most of the time. So I don't think our balance sheet has to be in black. That's for sure. That is a very important part of success as well. But money has not really played a huge part for me or never will. As I said, my needs are not too much. And it's also very strange, when I used to have a turnover of 10 lakh rupees a month, and I would say, wow, it would be amazing if we had 10 lakhs a month, 20 lakhs a month. There's no end to it. There's really no end to it. It is all relative at the point of the day. So when you know you've done your best, you're giving out a product that you are proud of, which is appreciated by people. Success is when I get a bouquet of flowers at home saying, thank you for an amazing meal. That's what makes me happy. And at the moment, as I said, I'm grateful for it. And there's nothing but gratitude.
Yeah, so money is not really the motivator, really, right? What is material,
No, it has
material?
never been. It has
Mm,
never been. It has never
mm.
been. Doesn't mean that I'm not a saint. I'm not a yogi. I don't sleep on the floor and I don't eat frugally. I like to eat. I like to have a nice glass of wine once in a while. I love my holidays. But do I have this need to have crores and crores in my bank? No, I don't. Do I have the need to have hundreds of properties all over the world? No, I don't. So as long as I can live well for today, that's what all that matters.
So what would luxury mean to you, really?
Luxury for me is what I spend on my glasses and my shoes. So these are two luxury items that I indulge in my life. And it's very difficult uh, when I pass a shoe shop because I try to run away because I will go in and buy a pair of shoes which I don't need. But these two are my luxuries, glasses and
Yeah,
shoes.
I guess indulgence. Yeah, why not?
Indulgence, yes,
We all deserve to do that. Yeah.
yes.
But I feel luxury more in terms of, you have your freedom probably to do, live life the way you want.
But
And yeah,
when I tell you, I think that's luxury. It shouldn't be a luxury. The freedom to do what you want should be everyone's right. And I think somewhere we also need to understand and accept that and not think, if we start thinking it's a luxury, then how the hell is the world going to change, Anuradha?
yeah, very
So
true, very true.
freedom to do what you want is it should be your birthright and not a luxury that you've been bestowed by upon.
Yeah, I think that's something that one needs to remind themselves every day. So, so many people stuck in bad jobs, bad
Yes.
situations, but yeah, absolutely. Very empowering. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So tell me, coming back to your cooking, what does it do for you? I just want to know what headspace are you when you're cooking? What are the smells in the kitchen, the spices, the fragrances? What happens, How do you create a new
Again,
recipe, for
uh,
instance?
it is really again a state of mind, and it changes every time depending on what my external factors are, what my internal state of mind is. So, just to give you an example, till I was 40, my only love was Italian food. For me, any other cuisine was nowhere, somewhere I could, for me, it was only Italian. And then I realized I still need to learn. An Indian food, which is still my home food, is my favorite food, was something I always scoffed at because I guess you were born with it and you took it for granted. So for me, it was as late as 40 when I discovered cooking Indian food. And I realized it was the toughest food in the world. I still think it's the toughest food in the. So just to give you an example, when I'm in Natrangi, which is our restaurant in Dubai, which we just opened a couple of months ago, and when the food trials were going on, for me, the important thing was to recreate my memories. So I'm from Calcutta originally. So for me, it was important that I had lekka dum aloo. My Bengali friends, their favorite food was always mangsho with luchi. I needed to recreate and smell it and taste it in my head. Recently I was doing a street food festival of Italy, and I was remembering my various travels in Italy looking for different street food. So for me, I think somewhere I first recreate that in my memory. For me, it's very important to taste it, feel it, sense it in my head before I start to cook it. And I think that's there are a lot of trials and errors, there are a lot of failures in that as well. But recipes don't work for me. Recipe books don't work because I get it wrong. But it is always a recreation of a memory, either a distant past or a childhood memory, whatever it is. But this is what keeps me going. Smells, my favorite smells is when a hing comes in contact with oil. That smell of a tadka of the hing, I think, is one of the most beautiful smells in the world. For me, the smell when tomato and basil is cooked together, that's a smell I could die for. When a bread comes out of oven, when the chocolate is melted. So those are the smells, those sensories, which, as I said, that's my luxury.
Yeah, beautiful. So, you're talking about Indian food. Which is your favorite? Do you cook at home? What do you have on your off day, let's say, or when you're
So
just at
my
home?
home food is very different. My home food, my favorite khana is tori ki sabzi, patli chapati, Punjabi curry one day, Marwari curry one day. So I eat very simply at home. In fact, I still remember once I called my nieces and her friends over for a meal. They all called me Bua. And I thought I was really preparing a special meal for them. I made parwal, I made torai, and I made, chapat. And they all looked at it and said, "What the hell? We haven't come to the best chef of Delhi to eat torai parwal." And I was heartbroken. I was really heartbroken. And immediately I had to redo a pasta for them. So my home food, much as I love it, everyone else coughs at it. So the less we talk about it, the better it is.
Yeah. Do you cook at home? A lot of
Yes.
chefs don't, I think. Hmm.
No, so you see, that changed for me. I moved to Goa about 5 years ago. And so I travel to Delhi for work, I travel to Mumbai for work, but Goa is my home where I don't have any restaurants. So there, when I'm in Goa, I cook all the meals and I take great pleasure in it. And my partner taught me something many years ago, which is that if you're a real cook, you will cook what's in the fridge and not ordering based on what you want to cook, which is how I'm used to working in a restaurant. So my biggest thrill cooking at home is to see what is the leftover vegetable, which vegetable has only one day left, or what is it that's going to go off, or what is it that I need to get rid of, and create a meal out of that.
Yeah, lovely. And tell me, like, food also brings people together, right?
Of course,
So
of course.
I think from the time you must have started cooking, friends, family, getting everybody together, does that happen a lot?
All the time, all the time. So, when I was young, my parents used to travel a lot. And now, in hindsight, when I think I really must have missed them, because when they used to come back home, which was 2, 3 in the morning from their trips abroad, work trips abroad, I used to wait for them. And I used to always have this 3, 4, 5 course meal waiting for them just to show them that I miss them. Okay, those guys were so embarrassed because they'd eaten on the flight. They had no desire to eat this food at 3 in the morning. But that was my way. Food was my way of conveying to them that I missed them. Later, when I started traveling in Italy for Marble for work, I was 18-year-old. And actually, that's where my love for food started, because all my friends, colleagues who I met, they opened their hearts, their homes, and their tables to me. So I was eating with them, listening to anecdotes, listening to stories, hearing about, and those bonds, those friendships have lasted forever. And I think even for me, when there's an important business meeting I need to do, I always prefer to do it over a meal, because somewhere when you talk over food, a lot of your defenses are down and you're a lot more personable, a lot more human than you are sitting behind your 12 feet desk. So food has that power, and it's for everyone. It brings out something very human, something very basic in us. And I've seen some of the worst fights get solved over a meal.
That's really nice. Any examples? Any anecdotes? I mean,
So, as I said, I mean, my parents, when I was cooking for them, whenever we have some problems in the office, any personnel, I take them out for a meal, not so often now. And it was always over a meal that, what is it that you like? And you find a common factor. Arey, I'm a Punjabi, I want a butter chicken. Arey, me also Punjabi, I also want a butter chicken. Or someone's from UP, arey, hamare yahan to aise khate hain. So, as I said, it's food is also someone's pride, from where they begin, where they originate from. And that pride also people like to share. Okay. And I've seen it happen so many times over tables that it's amazing. It's impressive. It's like even amongst our chefs, some of my chef friends, they're all from different parts. And when we sit and talk, it is not about what you're doing in your restaurant or what I'm doing in my restaurant. It is Bihar mein kya khate ho, ya UP mein kya khate ho, Nepal mein kya khate ho. And that is, as I said, it's a start of a conversation. It is start of forming a bond, and it's start of letting your defenses down.
very true, because suddenly you find common ground. Ki, oh, you make it like
Absolutely.
that. We make it like that
Absolutely.
too. Or there's a slight
Absolutely.
tadka
Absolutely.
aaka difference or something. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me, Ritu, like you said, you've had many businesses, there have been ups and downs, and or maybe it's something as small as not getting, recipe right or whatever, concoction right. So if you're feeling low or whatever, it happens to all of us. How do you deal with that?
So when I'm feeling low, I start singing. I can't sing to save my life. I have such a terrible voice, you have no idea. And I start singing at top of my lungs. Okay. And immediately I feel better. I immediately feel like, okay, I think I will survive this day for yet another day.
What are you saying? Anything in particular?
Everything, anything and everything, right from Hemant Kumar to Janis Joplin to Asha Bhosle to Suman Sridhar to Ellie Goulding, anything and everything.
Does music play a large part even when you're cooking or in your restaurant?
Music is a very big part of my life in general. I mean, I make the playlists of the restaurant, but slowly my guys are changing it. I know it, and they think I haven't realized it because it's a bit outdated. Yes, when I cook, I always like to have music on. And music is also, I like to look up at new musicians. I'm always curious about who's playing new, what are the new music coming. So, yes, if I always say if I wasn't a chef, I would have been a DJ.
Goes well together, actually.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, I believe you do a lot of journaling as well. I read somewhere that you've been maintaining a diary since you were younger.
I do, but again, to be honest with you, I can't remember last time when I wrote in it. I think last 5, 7 years. But yes, I always did maintain. I used to love maintaining a journal, and sometimes when I read and I laugh at myself, all the problems that seemed so big that time, and when I read them, I say, "What the hell?" I mean, really. But no, it hasn't happened for a long time.
Yeah. I think when we were younger, all of us, maybe we started keeping a diary. I think even I did for a very short
Yeah,
while.
yeah. I think it's a very
Yeah.
girls thing.
Yeah. And then you stop.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
embarrassing to go back and read it, actually.
Oh, no, no, I still love it.
Right.
See how stupid I was, but still.
Yeah. So tell me, like we're talking about growing older, really. So, do you find any changes in yourself at 20, yourself now, in terms
Oh,
of goals or
yes.
the way you
Oh,
think,
yes.
Hmm.
Yes. So the good part that I find, I used to have a really bad temper. It used to be a fuse that used to come for 30 seconds and finish off also. I find myself getting mellower as I'm getting older. Uh, 30 years ago, if someone came to my restaurant and asked for pasta with chicken, I would shout at the waiter and say, tell him to fuck off. There is nothing called pasta with chicken in Italian food. Now, let's put it this way, I would go to the client very gently and say, sir, this is not the right way. Can I make you try something? And if you don't like it, I'll still give you what you want. So, tolerance is much, much better. Uh, Thirdly, I was a control freak and I would never let go. And honestly, I also learned as I grew older that if I really want to run the restaurants that I want to, one man, one woman cannot run an entire chain of restaurants or group of restaurants or anything. You got to learn to let go and give others a chance, even if you don't like their way and it's different to your way. Sometimes newer ways, much as it may sound surprising, is sometimes so these are some changes has happened. Still, a lot of work needs to be done. But in general, I find myself to be a mellower person. Physically, earlier when Vama opened my restaurant in London, I used to very proudly say for 2 years, 2 months, I didn't take a single day off and I worked 14 hours a day. I can't do it. I'm not physically capable of it. Now at 10 o'clock, I'm yawning. I want to go to bed. I need my 8 to 9 hours of sleep. And I can't do these when I have to be up late in events, etc. I need to come soak my feet in hot water. So physically, the changes are quite a lot. And I have progressive. I have plus as my glasses. So that is another big change that has happened. Now, when I read, I have to lift my glasses up like that to read anything which is in small print.
Yeah, I can understand because even I'm still trying to figure that out. And yeah, like even me, like, now when you have to go out somewhere, you're already calculating what time you'll come back. You know,
Yes,
so earlier
yes,
you didn't care, however
absolutely.
late it got. Okay, so Ritu, like the other thing, you said that you're not a activist, LGBTQI activist, but you came forward and you came on board with the petition, to decriminalize Section 377. I mean, decriminalize homosexuality, and so how did that happen? I know that when the judge said that I have not met a gay person, so five of you step forward. I
Yeah,
mean
so
that.
let me
Yeah.
give you a little background to it. So before 2009, I used to help with a little bit of funding, etc., whatever I could afford. And I always wanted to be behind scenes. 2009, Delhi High Court decriminalized it. Beautiful, amazing. 3 years, all gay couples were more or less out. 2013, the Supreme Court decriminalized it again. It was a very dark, shitty moment for everyone. And for me, as I said, I was complaining, I was bitching, I was moaning, I was saying, I don't want to live here anymore. Maybe I should move out. And my partner turned around and said, okay, this is all well and good, but what have you done about it? You all sit and complain, but what you as a person, and that was really below the belt, but also very true. There were many petitions which were filed before the 2016 petition that we five filed, but they were all filed by either NGOs, by parents of the community, or by school teachers, etc. So there was no gay person per se as a group filed this petition. And mainly because they were scared, it was a criminal offense. When you file it, you're declaring yourself as a criminal. There was a lot of trolling. And when Menaka Guruswamy and Saurabh Kripal, who were the lawyers, asked me, for me, the answer was clear yes, without even thinking. Because as I said, I was still smarting from my partner's comment. And I just said this in an interview a little bit, a few minutes earlier, in fact. I never thought that we will win this case. I never thought it will even come up for a hearing in my lifetime. Curative petition, to get that itself was a struggle. 2 years, 3 years it took us to just get a curative petition accepted, to get a bench of judges formed. So I said, okay, I've done my bit. Let's see what happens. But 2018 really changed my life to some extent. And when this happened, honestly, I felt this is what I was put on this earth for. This was my mission, and this is what I came here for. We still have a long journey ahead. A lot of things. This was just the first baby step. Rights are not there. Inclusivity is not there. Many workplaces still have a lot of discrimination. But thankfully, now the young people don't have to hide. They no longer, police can harass them, no longer can the parents force them to get married. So we are hoping these are the young people who will take this forward, and who knows, maybe in my lifetime we will see a lot more rights coming our way.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, it's given you a life purpose in a way.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And true for young people, I mean, they know that the law is with them.
Yes, exactly.
You're not a
There's so
criminal.
many
Yeah.
cases, there's so many cases that's happened in Kerala and other smaller cities where parents have tried to force their kids to get married, and they've used the 2018 judgment and fought against it and refused to get married, and the court had to be on their side because the judgment was very clear. So it's become, I mean, it still has a long way to go, but it has also played its role. It has played its role. It has given more awareness to people in smaller towns and villages as well, that no longer police can harass you or your parents can force you to get married to an opposite sex person if you don't want to get married.
True, yeah. And I also, I mean, if you don't mind, I just want to go back to your own coming out journey, because I've seen for some people, they somebody outs them basically.
Oh, for
So,
me, it was very simple. I never had any such problems. I was one of the very few lucky ones who didn't struggle with my sexuality. The day I realized, hang on, I think I'm attracted to women, I accepted it. I accepted it. And it took me a couple of years to come out, but not because I was scared or I was ashamed, but mainly because I was still figuring it out. And I came out to my mom when I was 23. And my friends knew it, my close friends knew it. I'm not the sort of person who wants to announce from a rooftop that, hello, I'm gay, or wear a t shirt which says I'm a lesbian. No. But at the same time, I never hid it. I never hid my sexuality. But as I said, I was one of the very few lucky ones, also because I was financially independent. But unfortunately, people who are the biggest struggle is within yourself. People,
yeah.
when they struggle with coming out, it's mainly because they struggle with themselves. And of course, they're not accepted, where will they go? What will they do? I think somewhere, once you manage to accept, I think financial independence is equally important for you to face the world.
Yeah. And I guess you were still an adult, at that time. So you had access to
I was,
information and a
yeah, I
lot of
was,
things.
like I said, I was, no, honestly, I didn't know much about it myself. When I told my mom I was lesbian, the first question was, she asked me, is lesbian kya hota hai? So I had to sit and explain it to her. So it's not that my time there was too many things out or there was too much literature information. There wasn't really much. Even I used to make fun of girls in school who were tomboyish and use the word lesbian without even knowing what it meant, because the reality is none of us actually knew what it meant, and girls can be very cruel. This is also reality. So it's only later you realize that you said things without even understanding what you must have been very, very cruel to some other people who have been fighting with their idea and their sexuality.
Yeah. And I think also what you're doing with, it's like with so much openness and talk around it, maybe a young child, they get to see another person who's like them, maybe an adult and that in the community. I was listening
Absolutely.
to,
So my
hmm,
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying I was just listening to a talk recently where, that, this, till they were 17, they had not met another gay person. They thought they were the only person in the whole world, you know? So,
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. And that's why it's also very important that the law is on your side, because first you're struggling, you think you're unique and there's something seriously wrong with you. And then when you also hear that it's a criminal offense and you 100% think there's so much shame attached to it within yourself. So that's the first thing but the thing is that can only get better only when there's education at every home, right? As a child is growing up. That's something that cannot be taught anywhere else if they're not taught at home.
yeah. What about you at home, your own siblings, etc.?
But I'm open, I'm completely open. There is nothing. I
Did
mean,
that help? Did they support you? Did you need support at that time?
I didn't need support, but they all were in favor. No one really had anything negative to say about it. They embraced my partner with open arms. My mother, I think she likes my partner more than she likes me. My nephew, nieces. So never my nephew, nieces, I never hid my sexuality from them from the time they were kids. The first gay march that Pride happened in Delhi, I went there with my 14-year-old niece. So there's nothing, how shall I say, hidden about it in our household.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Did you ever have to have a talk with them explaining what it is?
I think my nieces, I was with a woman all the time. And I mean, so for them, I think I never needed, they just knew it. And don't forget, this generation's very different, Anuradha. They don't need a talk, they know
Yeah.
it all.
Yeah, it's a wonderful new generation. That's true.
Yes,
So do you have a lot of hope from it? And
yes. I'm always an optimist. So I'm always very hopeful. But as I said, sometimes I'm impatient with the speed and with what the changes are happening, and country being India being a country where 99% is still rural area, the changes in urban part is not enough. So you see the changes around you, but the real change will happen when it happens in the smaller towns, smaller villages. So, but as I said, I'm optimistic. I'm always hope for the best.
okay, Ritu, I won't keep you long. Just one last question. Since
Yes.
we're talking about food and travel and you love traveling, um, could you suggest like where one could travel if you want like a best like a foodie journey?
Oh,
In
sweetheart,
India,
the whole
abroad,
world,
anywhere. Hmm.
whole world, the whole world. How can it's so biased if I tell you one food journey or whatever? I mean, uh, the whole world, because any culture you want to understand, do a food journey and you will understand that culture better than anyone else. For me, Italy, different parts of Italy is what I love and have been doing. But I think every travel of mine has been a food journey which has made me more friends than any other travel could have done.